Well, good afternoon, everybody, and I'd like to welcome you to our first installment of Market Chats Dubai. And today I have a really wonderful guest with me by the name of Adam Arra, and he is a university lecturer here in the UAE. And today I have an interesting subject. We've talked about how COVID has affected us in our personal lives, but today we'd like to talk about the market and what is it going to look like. Just talk a little about you and your journey here, because you're from Canada.
Yep.
And so you have been. I met you here in the UAE. Actually, we're in Ras Al Khaimah.
Yep.
and we're both at the university. And I just wanted to just tell me about your journey that brought you here to the UAE.
Well, I started teaching 20 years ago in South Korea, and I was there for 10 years, teaching at two different universities. Two different universities. And then after that, met my wife there. We moved on. Did a year in Saudi Arabia, started my master's at the University of Birmingham while I was in Korea, and then finished it kind of on the road. It was rather expensive, and we needed to make some money. And then when we finished, we came here to the UAE, here in Ras Al Khaimah, and it's been 8 years.
8 years.
Yep.
And altogether out of your country, how long has that been?
I've been out for 21 years now.
About 21 years.
Yeah.
And so you are expat's dream. You've been away many countries, met a wife while you were out.
I had 2 kids.
And 2 kids that away from Canada. That is super interesting. And so I guess you have seen, and you were in education for this 21
Yep.
years. And so education has changed.
Oh, wow.
It has changed.
Wow.
It has changed a bunch. I would
Wow.
imagine.
The world's changed. The internet has changed twice over. It's been constant change.
Because of the internet, would you say that even though you've been you said Singapore, Korea.
Yep.
I've been in Korea, Saudi,
Yep.
and here in UAE. Are things dramatically different in those countries in terms of what your job looked like, or are they becoming similar because of technology?
At the outset, some things are pretty standard.
Okay.
In other regards, countries have different outlooks as to how to use technology and where its place is in your life. I'd have to say, both. It's the same and dramatically different. Some things like email. Email is just part of life.
Consistent.
It's like sunshine. There's sunshine, taxes, death, and email, and you have to deal with that. It just how you deal with it, and how
Sure.
every country deals with it is completely different, because some places you live by email, and it's with you, it's in your face constantly, and it's kind of expected to be in your place. In your face.
Yes.
You're expected to have it on your phone, and you're expected to deal with it as it comes. Other places don't live like that.
Oh, very good.
Email is work email, and you deal with it in work hours, and you do not deal with it at home.
Talk about those changes and what you went through.
For me, it was really interesting because when I did my master's, I did it as a distance student.
Very good.
So for me, I got flipped, and so now instead of being the distance student, I was the distance teacher, and I think that gave me a lot of advantages that very few other people had, because I understood what the students were going to go through.
Yes.
And I understood that the whole concept of learning goes, it's not just flipped, it's upside down and backwards. And
Sure. If I may, now, which brings us into a really interesting point. Colleges and universities that were not interested in doing distance learning
well, they have to now.
all of a sudden now
Sink or swim.
we find ourselves in a full distance learning, and there's no debate.
Yeah.
There's no debate,
Yeah,
no choice. Now all of a sudden,
Figure it out and get it done.
figure it out in one day, and we are all distance learning. Now there's no argument. There's no debate. We are all 100% distance learners. Talk about that. What changed in your life when you jumped into distance learning? If I may take some points.
As a student or as a teacher?
As a teacher now, because now you're in March 1st, 2020. You're an online teacher, which we had never, you had never had to deal with before.
The onus of education in online teaching is on the student to learn. And I got that from when I was the student in an online distance course. And it wasn't even an online course, it was a distance course. I had regular contact with my tutor, but there were no regular classes. The onus of learning was on me. Me to do the work, to do the reading, to produce the work, and then to engage. When I had my regular hours with my instructor, the onus was on me to produce. So if I did not walk in with a pile of work for us to go through together, I hadn't done my job.
Okay.
And that's, in a regular classroom setting, the onus of learning is on the teacher. And in most cultures and in most systems, the onus of education is on the teacher to teach. And when you flip it, the onus is on the learner to learn. And the teacher has to step back. Because I can't, when I'm online, I can't come into your house and make sure you're on page. Get on page.
Sure.
I can't do that. I'm not going to do that. It's your job to do that to yourself. And so I would regularly talk to my students. As a teacher, I would regularly talk to them about self-discipline, about time management, about getting the job done. And these are such incredibly potent tools to learn. And most institutions, even at an institutional level, they consider these soft skills that just kind of get layered in the education process. And I guess I had it easy because I teach introductory level students. It's their first year in.
Okay.
I'm for so many students, I'm the first face they see.
Okay.
You're in my classroom first, and so I set the foundation. Love that word.
Now I'd like to finally move to the future. Now you've learned these things because we were basically forced into to be an online lecturer. Now, as we start to move back into normalcy, what are the things that you'd like to bring back if we were to go into a classroom? Or let's ask the question, Adam, where would you like to be in the next year, what would you like the job to look like in terms of academia? Would you like to go back into a classroom? Would you like to be an online teacher, an online lecturer? What things would you keep, and what would you maybe get rid of? What would your perfect couple of classrooms look like in the future?
Whoa. You always drop the heavy ones.
Because I mean, there has to be. I mean, there are two separate roads. Two roads diverge in a wood. And we're on two different roads now. So we have the online classroom, which is it may happen. We have the back to classroom that some people are arguing. I can't wait to get back into the classroom. Where do you stand on this, and what would you like? Where would you like to be in these roads, or is there a mixture? Do you have
the mixture? The mixture for sure. Mixture.
Okay.
Wow.
It's monumental.
Back to fundamentals then. Always crazy question. Back to the fundamentals.
Okay.
All right. So stakeholders.
Okay.
So students, college or university, parents, and instructors. I'd go back and I'd do a needs analysis.
Okay.
And go right back, because so there are students who need to be in the classroom.
Okay.
They need to be in the classroom, and if they need to be in the classroom, then I need to be in there with them, and that's cool. There are other students who do not need to be there,
and do not want to be there,
and do not want. Well, there are many students who don't want to be there.
That's for another subject.
They
right?
still need to be there. But there are those who don't need to be there because they've got another bag of skills that they're already bringing in, and they just need to prove that they've got the skills to move on.
Very good.
So I'd like to keep making online content, and I'd like to keep the door open for the students that don't need to be there, and they can just prove themselves and move on.
Very good. Very nice.
Together, faculty and institution need to sit down and have a serious cup of coffee and talk about assessments. Seriously. I think we learned a lot of lessons. And I think a lot of stuff came to the surface. And I think that we need to talk about assessments.
Sure.
We need to talk about the concept of assessments, how we do them, and what we're actually assessing.
Very interesting. Very, very interesting.
I think we need to have a really honest conversation about that. And I think once everyone sits down, we'll discover that we're more on the same page than not.
I do understand your point, and thank you for attempting to answer such a broad question. I think that is one of the questions that all of us are asking ourselves. What will our workplace look like in whether it's this year and the end of 2021, or even next year as we start to get past this whole pandemic. First of all, I'd like to say thank you for coming on the first show, our maiden show, and you have been a value to me personally, and you've been a value, and you're a value to where you work. And I just want to say thank you so much, and thank you for tuning in to our maiden session on the future of the workplace and focusing on the universities and colleges and how we will look in 2022 and beyond. It's been a pleasure to all of you. I hope you have a wonderful afternoon out
Bye,
there.
everybody. Take care.
Take care from UAE. This is the Business Doctor signing off.